Picture this for a second. It's Friday evening, around 5:30 p.m. You're sitting in your car or on the train, technically on your way home, but mentally, you're already empty. Your body made it through the week. Your brain didn't. Cooking feels impossible. Decision-making feels heavy. So without really thinking, your thumb opens a delivery app. Thai food, pizza, burgers, $45 after tax, fees, and tip. You tell yourself it's fine. You earned this. You worked hard all week. You get home, maybe pour a drink, maybe collapse onto the couch, and you let some show play in the background just to quiet the noise in your head. I've watched this exact moment repeat itself for decades, across generations, across income levels, across cities and suburbs. Different people, same ritual. And no, I'm not judging you. I've lived long enough to know this isn't laziness. This is exhaustion. This is what happens when your nervous system is fried and convenience feels like survival. But here's what most people miss, and what I want you to stay with me for. The danger isn't the food. It isn't the drink. It isn't the show. The real danger is that this moment feels normal. It feels deserved. It feels harmless. And when something quietly drains your money, your time, and your energy while feeling justified, that's when it becomes expensive in ways you never see on a receipt. And here's where the math problem really begins, long before we ever touch a calculator. That little sentence you tell yourself, "I earned this." It sounds reasonable, responsible, even. In America, we're taught that hard work deserves a reward, and there's nothing wrong with that idea on its own. The problem is how quietly that sentence rewires your spending decisions. Because once you label something as a reward, you stop evaluating it. You don't ask whether it actually improves your life. You don't ask what it's costing you beyond the price tag. You just approve it, automatically. This is how smart, hardworking people end up bleeding money without ever feeling reckless. Every week becomes a cycle of endurance followed by relief, stress followed by spending, effort followed by consumption. And over time, that rhythm starts to feel like the deal you signed up for. Give your energy all week, buy your sanity back on the weekend. No one forces this on you. No one tricks you directly. You agree to it because it feels fair. And that's exactly why it works. Now, this is the moment where most people feel uncomfortable because we're about to touch a number you've been taught to respect your entire adult life: your hourly wage. If you make $65,000 a year, someone told you that means you earn about $31 an hour. That number sounds solid. It sounds responsible. It sounds like proof that you're doing okay. But let me ask you something, and I want you to really sit with it. What business on earth would judge its success by revenue alone and completely ignore expenses? None that survive. Yet that's exactly how most people evaluate their jobs. We look at the gross number and stop there. No one trains us to subtract the costs required to earn that money in the first place. Taxes come out before you ever see a dollar. Commuting costs money. Maintaining a car costs money. Looking professional costs money. Convenience costs money. Stress costs money. And those aren't optional. They're built into the job. So when you say you make $31 an hour, what you're really saying is, I haven't done the math yet. If this were a real business, this conversation wouldn't even be controversial. Any business owner knows that revenue is meaningless without understanding cost. A bakery can sell $1 million worth of bread in a year, but if it spends $1 million on rent, labor, ingredients, and utilities, that business isn't successful, it's treading water. And if it keeps operating that way, it eventually collapses. Your job works the same way, except the product being sold isn't bread. It's you. Your time, your energy, your focus, your health, those are the inputs. And the mistake most people make is treating their labor like free raw material. They assume the only cost that matters is the number on the paycheck. But every hour you show up to work carries a real cost of goods sold: transportation, clothing, food, mental bandwidth, emotional recovery. When you ignore those expenses, you're not being optimistic. You're being inaccurate. And inaccurate accounting is how people end up working harder every year while feeling poorer at the same time. So let's stop speaking in theory and actually run the audit. Not on a billionaire, not on an outlier, on an average American worker, someone who makes a decent salary, does what they're supposed to do, and still feels like the money never quite stays. Start with taxes, federal, state, payroll. Before that paycheck ever touches your account, a meaningful chunk is gone. That's not optional. That's the baseline. Then comes the cost of getting to the place where you earn what's left. Gas, insurance, maintenance, or a monthly transit pass. Most people spend thousands of dollars a year just moving their body to and from the building that pays them. Then there's the cost of looking the part, work clothes, shoes, dry cleaning, haircuts timed around meetings instead of your life. None of this is about vanity. It's the admission price of employment. And then comes the quiet bleed convenience spending. Lunch because you didn't have time to prepare food. Coffee because you're exhausted by mid-afternoon. A dog walker because you're not home. Small charges that feel harmless in isolation but exist for one reason only. The job took your time. Add it up honestly, and something unsettling happens. The salary you thought you earned starts shrinking fast. Not because you're irresponsible, but because working costs money, and no one ever taught you to subtract it. Now we get to the part that most people never calculate because it doesn't show up on a bank statement. Time. Human resources will tell you that you work 40 hours a week. That number is clean, it's convenient, and it's deeply misleading. Your workday doesn't start when you sit down at your desk. It starts when your alarm goes off. The shower, the shaving, the clothes, the mental shift from being a person to being an employee. That time belongs to the job, even if no one pays you for it. Then there's the commute. 30 minutes each way is an hour of your life gone every day. Unpaid, non-negotiable. Lunch is technically off the clock, but you're not free. You can't go home. You can't rest. You're still captive to the schedule. And when the day ends, the work doesn't fully release you. You drive home thinking about emails. You vent. You scroll. You sit in silence trying to recover enough to function tomorrow. That decompression time isn't leisure, it's repair. Add it all up, and something uncomfortable becomes clear. You're not selling 40 hours a week, you're selling 55 or 60. And when you divide your already shrunken income by those real hours, the number you thought defined your worth starts to collapse. And this is where people with higher incomes often tune out, thinking this doesn't apply to them. That would be a mistake. In many cases, this math gets worse the more successful you become. Promotions come with raises, but they also come with longer hours, heavier responsibility, and higher expectations. You stay later. You answer messages at night. You buy nicer clothes because now your title walks into the room before you do. You order takeout more often because time has become scarcer. Maybe you add a second car because your schedule no longer lines up with anyone else's. Stress increases, so recovery gets more expensive. Better vacations, better restaurants, more ways to numb the pressure. This is how people end up processing more money through their lives while keeping less of it. The paycheck grows, but the margin shrinks. From the outside, it looks like progress. From the inside, it feels like running faster just to stay in the same place. These are the golden handcuffs. And once they click shut, walking away becomes emotionally and financially terrifying. There's one more cost that almost no one feels in the moment, which is exactly why it's so dangerous. Opportunity cost. The money you spend just to survive your work week doesn't disappear. It gets taken from your future. $5 on coffee because you're too exhausted to make it at home. $20 on lunch because the day ran long. $45 on delivery because you have nothing left to give. Each expense feels small, forgettable. But money has memory. Over time, those small amounts compound into something much larger. Invested consistently over decades, they turn into security, options, and freedom. Spent reactively, they turn into nothing. You're not just buying convenience, You're trading years of future flexibility for a few minutes of relief today, and the system depends on this. It depends on you being tired enough to choose now over later, comfort over calculation. When you're exhausted, you don't think in decades. You think in hours. That's how freedom quietly slips away, not through big mistakes, but through thousands of tiny, justified ones that never feel worth arguing with in the moment. This is the point where most people expect a dramatic solution. Quit your job, move off the grid, start over. That's not how real life works, and it's not what I'm suggesting. Control doesn't come from blowing everything up. It comes from understanding one number and making it your new standard. Your real hourly wage. Not what HR tells you. Not what your offer letter says. The number you get after taxes, after work-related expenses, after you divide by the true hours your job takes from your life. Once you know that number, your entire relationship with money changes. A $100 purchase stops being a price tag and starts being a question. Is this worth 10 hours of my life? Suddenly, the math does the discipline for you. And let me be clear about something, because this is where people get it wrong. Optimization is not about living smaller or depriving yourself. It's about spending on things that give you time back, not take more of it away. Working from home 2 days a week isn't a lifestyle perk. It's a raise. Meal prepping once a week isn't frugality. It's margin. Cutting one unnecessary expense tied directly to your job can give you more freedom than chasing a higher salary ever will. This is what smart business owners do. They protect margin first. Your life deserves the same treatment. I've lived long enough to watch money come and go, markets rise and fall, careers begin and quietly disappear. And if there's one truth that never changes, it's this: time is the only currency that never gets replenished. The people who end up wealthy aren't always the ones who earn the most. They're the ones who learn to stop selling their time at a discount. They bought it back slowly, deliberately, year after year, while everyone else was trading it away for convenience, appearances, and relief. The goal here isn't perfection. It's awareness. This weekend, when you're not exhausted, sit down and run the numbers. Be honest. Calculate what your job really pays you per hour of your life. Write that number down, keep it close, and the next time you're about to spend money without thinking, pause and ask the only question that matters. Is this worth the hours of my life it will take to pay for it? That moment of friction will protect you more than any budgeting app ever could. I'm not here to tell you to be rich. I'm here to tell you not to be careless with the one thing you can't earn back. Stop selling your time without knowing its value. Audit your life. Protect your margin. That's where freedom actually lives.